And the good thing about working with people, especially people that have much more knowledge than you, is the vision they have. You will always take a small part for yourself. I think that even if you're doing personal stuff non-stop, I think it's always great to always open a door to work with people, even for a short period of time. But you learn a lot by being the employee. When you have a boss and you just follow order and you learn from it and the vision the person have.
Have you found your creative calling? And do you understand how to even get there? Well, our next guest definitely does. They have built a formidable career, embarked on making and releasing their own IPs, created a Learn Squared course, and navigating all that the industry and technological landscape is throwing at us. So please welcome the great Paul Chadeisson, who joins us today to share the incredible things he's been up to since his Learn Squared course, World Building, was released, and how he manages to execute everything he does to a high level whilst being the most chill person on the planet. So let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to Learn Squared podcast, and I'm delighted to welcome on today's guest, the legendary Paul Chadeisson. Welcome, Paul.
Hey man, nice to talk to you.
Thank you for jumping on. I know we've spoken back and forth over the years to try and do this. Obviously, you've been very busy making badass things, I'm sure. But it's great to have you on, and I'm delighted to speak to you for a multitude of reasons. One of them being you're a great artist. Another one being your Learn Squared instructor. And the third one, which kind of links the first two, is you're one of my favorite artists, straight up. Thanks, I'm probably going to speak a lot of plaudits, so do forgive me if that gets annoying. But for those of our guests who are new to us or unfamiliar with maybe yourself and us in general, but yeah, let us know your origin story and who you are.
I'm Paul Chadeisson, and I'm from France. Started my career in video games. I think it was 13 years ago, something like that. Time fly. I still feel it's very close from now. But started with Alexis Briclot. Are you familiar with him? He's a French artist as well, and I was a big fan of his work. And to be able to join the team, they were doing like a science fiction game. It was perfect for me, and I started there, and then I've quickly started my video game studio, which we did Strike Victor, a game maybe nobody know anything about now. It was a multiplayer game. We did the game with three friends. We were four, two artists, two programmers. It was a lot of work, but a lot of fun, a lot of pressure, a lot of everything. But I think I've learned so much there, and that really influenced me to do what I do today. I'm still surfing the wave of Strike Victor, which was like a science fiction. We're trying to do it like realistic, but flying, you know. And I'm still doing flying spaceship today. It never really left me. I'm still refining this universe, and that's interesting because any art piece or any universe maybe have no limits, can keep expanding it. Even if a game or a movie have been released, it can still be worked and improve. So that's what I'm doing. Actually, I'm working on I guess I can say a short film now, another project which I started a year ago. I was just playing with Blender, doing some aircraft carrier flying. And a few weeks ago, fun fact is, I realized I had maybe like half of a movie.
Wow.
and I was speaking to a friend I have since I'm a young person, and we are talking about the short film. I was showing some shot, and he was mad. I want to write it. Let me write it. And since this day, like it's really becoming more real. It's not just animated shot, but a real project is starting to born. It's so yeah, that kept me very busy. And yeah, but I don't know if it's really a reply who I am and where I come from, but I can go into detail if you want.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that's great. Like to hear your journey because it seems like conventional but unconventional as well. Like, so did you start off wanting to get into games, or was that like something you fell into? How did that
I
happen?
think because yeah, I think that's the opportunity for me to go back a bit before starting to work. But I think like when I was like 40, 20, I think there were like no school
Mm-hmm.
for learning concept art or anything in France. In US, there were like art center and few other school, but in France we had nothing. So we were mostly learning from forum. Maybe young audience don't really know what was it, but it was basically a very it was like social media, but it was great, really good atmosphere. There were no like, no nothing like that. It was just about sharing
Mm-hmm.
and watching what you like, and that's it. But so we were learning by ourselves, trying to learn together with few people because naturally you get close to people who have a similar sensitivity to
Mm-hmm.
you, and so we were just trying to share what could be what could be like the trick of learning this yeah art, just how light is working, how light are bouncing, how material are working. It can feel very easy to learn it today,
Mm-hmm.
especially with 3D. But before it was hard to get the knowledge. And if you have a look to like the art history, it took like so many years to before you could see like Monet and all the impressionist painter to start to really understand and master lighting and how it really work in a more scientific way
Mm-hmm.
almost. So it was a challenge for us because we had really good painter in France like Monet, but the knowledge get lost in the century. Like we couldn't find. Maybe there is a way to find it, but with our experience or our age, we haven't really found anything. We are
Mm-hmm.
mostly getting inspired by Craig Billings or Matthias Veraselt and Spart and so many other artists. But yeah, it was it was not easy to get the knowledge. So when I got good enough, at least when you get good enough, you start to get contacted by people
Mm-hmm.
to hire you. But movie was not really it wasn't really possible. I think to me, I haven't. I know it was like the best of the best working on movies, but for a French artist, just starting art, to me, I haven't like connected. I mean, for me, it was I haven't think about it because for me it was just impossible, and just video games would be a good start. And I've got contacted by Alexis Briclot, as I said, and yeah, he basically asked me to join his studio, and that's how he started. You start with whatever offer come to you.
Very true. Um, that's super interesting that basically you're self-taught. Which like hearing that and obviously knowing what I understand and what I experience of your work as well, it just adds an extra level of legend for me. Because you mentioned their lighting and studying it and trying to basically figure it out. And I'm still sure that that's still the case where like you're still studying it, still trying to understand it. Yet your work, like light, is almost the star of the show. The way you use it, so that's interesting. That but it's logical considering that that's something that you spent a lot of time working on and trying to study. That's a key prominent feature in your work. What was it like trying to decipher all these things? And it's interesting you mentioned there about Monet, like how you see the finished piece is always celebrated. But if you're a student or trying to be someone who wants to craft similar things, you need that knowledge of how it's made, not the end result. So like, what kind of things were you doing to get that knowledge? Was it like you said, within your collective, was it a case of like doing these mini studies, or was it just trying to figure out any which way you can to get the knowledge that you wanted and then work on it until it became to that level where you were satisfied?
Yeah, it's fun because I've started in the complete wrong way. Because I've started to just do imaginative stuff for a long time. So I was having a lot of fun doing it, but it was terrible. But I've done so many pieces, like 100 or I don't know how many, but it was all wrong because I didn't knew like how lighting were working, all the foundation. And I guess at some point where you start to feel you're wasting your time, you had to do the thing properly. And I remember to myself, because before I was doing breakdancing when I was younger, before I wanted to be a professional breakdancer. But I realized like after 40 or 30, it would be really hard to really keep doing it.
Right.
And especially when I was doing it, it was just about fun. You couldn't make any money with it. You could do it if you were like the champion of the world, but that's it. But one of my friends, he was like a mentor to all of us. He had the proper way he was teaching us like how to learn like every move, the good way, because we were just kids trying to having fun, you know, just like we were just liking dancing. But it was the same. I've done the same mistake as when I was a breakdancer, was just playing but not really learning anything. And I realized at some point when I was doing art, like I was doing the exact same mistake. So everything I've learned in breakdancing, I could apply it in art. Just trying to try to deconstruct what's really missing in my art. I mean, the rendering is terrible. Composition could be better. I mean, just compare your stuff to like the best you admire, and you can instantly see like what's wrong. I guess. So, try to deconstruct, like, let's work on the lighting. What is the lighting? I don't know. And, just basically, just trying to apply in the more scientific way, if possible. I was just not really approaching that much in that period, but today that's what I'm trying to do. But with my friend, like we understand, like the lighting knowledge in France was terrible, really terrible. So we were really focusing on, let's understand how is it working, because if you know how to light, even if your drawing skill is terrible, you can still do beautiful picture. So to me, it's like two different main knowledge to know is drawing, perspective, anatomy, and rendering, like 3D. So we were doing study, like 15-minute study of specific mood of the day.
Sick.
Like lunchtime, sunset. Like for a week, let's do some sunset stuff, or 2 weeks. Same for morning. You can start to discover it's not definitely the same. You have more like fog and atmosphere in the morning, and then try to have the same approach for different mood, like when it's raining, when it's cloudy, not cloudy. And just by practicing and deconstruct everything, you can see the subtlety, and you start to understand by doing a mistake. That's you start to understand how the light bonds, how some material have some specular, some not, and try to, even if nobody tell you how light is working, just by doing very short experiment, you start to notice elements and difference between the material, and so I think that's a just small experiment. I mean, short in time. I think it's a good way to learn that stuff, and I always try to keep that in mind when I had to learn something new. Like if you want to learn Blender or whatever, just try to do very small project, a very small object, and as soon as you get comfortable with that, you can expand and do something larger scene or whatever. Yeah.
That's cool. Do you still do studies like that now?
I had an intern last year, and I've been doing a lot with him.
Cool.
And just by showing him, because I always keep telling to everybody, you want to learn painting, just do study non-stop, very short one,
Uh-huh.
and that just it always works when people are doing it. So I think that's a good practice, but I don't do it anymore. But when I think about it, I always think like I should get back to it, because you just keep learning by doing it. So maybe sometime, but at the moment I'm on this little film I'm doing. So my focus is just obsessed with doing more shot and trying to do it the proper way.
Cool. Also, like, just to jump back a little bit about, I guess, like studying, and even more so because I've made I want to say mistakes, but I've definitely gone down the path of blind studying, where I'm just thinking, oh, that's what's supposed to be done, let's just do that. But at the same time, not really like having any strategy behind it. Whereas how you described it is like there's definitely was a purpose and there was a key goal in all the things that you were doing. When you were doing that, like, is that similar to basically do you apply that to almost all of the things? Like when you were breakdancing, was it almost similar thing as well? Like almost like you said, get scientific, like study the basis of movement, study the basics, and then elaborate from there. So yeah, I don't know if that question makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this apply to everything, I guess. Just trying to understand like the different step possible. But it's hard because I guess as human, we would just want to close gate in front of ourselves just to know where we're going. But when you learn, you have to keep some gates open just to be sure you're doing the right decision. I keep realize I'm doing things wrong today. And I never noticed it this like 4 years, 6 years ago. Just learning lighting, refining it. I've took like the course from Craig Millins, and I've just feeling I was doing everything the wrong way.
Wow.
It's funny because I realized I didn't understand anything about lighting, but I just knew. I mean, in the eye, how it should look like, but I couldn't explain really how it was really working. But yeah, this course just like explaining A by A plus B how things should be done, and then you can refine, from your knowledge, your experience, and then like the more master way. But yeah.
And when you, like you mentioned before, like it was just a case of just creating things almost like you mentioned, I think blindly. Did you think at that point in time, like, was it a case of just that was too fun and you wanted to explore that way? Or was it a case of like your mentality maybe at the time was, like, I don't want to have to learn, if that makes sense? And then you kind of like went the opposite direction and decided that no, I need to kind of like understand why these things are. Like, what was it that I guess kind of maybe was that turning point where you evolved from creating the way you were before, where it was just like, throwing things out there and seeing what comes out cool, to being strategic and I guess very, yeah, like just evolving the way you were working?
I think it was mostly coming from frustration of doing terrible image. I guess at some point you just keep doing terrible image, and at some point I want to really upgrade. And once you realize you have something there is a way to learn. It wasn't really. I think it was pretty natural at some point that you're so frustrated and so hungry to learn, like you just do it. But I wasn't feeling. I guess everything happened at the proper time.
Yeah.
I guess I really loved just painting and drawing, so that's how I started. Just doing terrible image, but I was having so much fun. At some point, like, okay, let's try to make it look better. It's a waste of time. But today I know I've got more controlling more my approach by experience to more like knowing myself lately than when I was starting, when it was more, just one, I don't know. I think I'm more controlling today than when I was starting, definitely, just by knowing myself.
Interesting. I can totally relate to you on that as well. Like, especially the last few years for myself, and I think even moving forward now, it is more about almost like knowing yourself, hacking yourself in a way, so you can either make better decisions or just get on more of, I guess, a better path in whatever you're kind of doing. And I know when I was definitely younger, like late teens, early 20s, is you just don't have that thing in your brain where you're thinking about those kind of things. I guess you're just like kind of like moving forward or moving towards something, whatever it might be. So now that's interesting that you mentioned that. And what is it, I guess, that has surprised you or not? Looking into, I guess, like you're not finding yourself and looking into yourself a bit more.
Can you say it again? Just the
Yeah.
end of
So
the
like,
question?
just so as you're mentioning about it, like you're looking more about yourself and looking at yourself. What has been the most surprising thing for you on that journey?
I think doing some tutorial was definitely eyes opening, especially the learn squared one, because I realized it was so easy to do what I do. Really, I was really blown away because I could see like people doing fine very fast, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, it's good for them, but for me, it is not necessarily good. So I realized like what I was doing wasn't very hard.
Right.
So I was thinking about, okay, if everybody can do that very easily now, I should try to go in different direction
Mm.
or try to learn new things. But I think if I wouldn't have did that course, I'm not sure if I would have evolved that way. Because I just love doing it, you know. I can just keep doing the same thing forever. It can be great sometimes, but if you just keep doing the same thing, it can be. I mean, that's how I see it, but
Mm-hmm.
can be as well a bad thing. And sometimes you have to, you have to change sometimes to evolve, and the fun comes really back again. But once you start to repeat this process, you're not necessarily aware of that, but once you've done it a few times, you realize that, and that's how you want to reproduce it, and that's why I'm doing film now, because I want to. I'm having so much fun by doing things moving. It's like learning everything again,
Mm-hmm.
but you're just becoming someone slightly different with time.
Interesting. Before we get into that, because I'd definitely love to pick your brains on, I guess, like how you've been evolving and making these little not jumps, but like change of directions, yet still moving forward. But you mentioned before about frustrations, and one of the reasons why, well, one of the big reasons why initially you sought studying and basically improving yourself was a level of frustration. And I get what you mean with that. It's not a case of like frustration and thinking like in a negative way. It's more like, I guess, and sorry to speak for you, but like realizing that you've got more to express and there's something kind of holding you back. And to kind of unlock that thing that's holding you back, you need to take the path that you've taken, which is either studying or other such things. How many times have you kind of like been frustrated in your career in a similar way that has forced you to make those jumps or seek guidance to help you to make those jumps?
Hmm. I don't know if it was really frustration. I think it was more. I could see myself doing the same things over and over and over. Sorry, and because when I was starting, I've done the same thing so much that I felt okay. I already done that. The fun of just playing and doing the same thing forever, like for a few years. I already had that fun when I was starting, and now maybe that's a bad thing. But I quickly can see like I will do the same thing forever. So I see I had to at some point I see I had to do something else because I don't feel I will learn anything new by keep doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I was feeling at that moment. But sometimes I feel like maybe it's good to keep pushing because you know I'm still doing the same universe I was doing like 10 years ago almost. So in a way, I'm still doing the same thing. It's it's kind of contradictory. I don't know if it's a proper word. A contradiction.
Um,
Sorry, my English is
no,
terrible.
no, no, no.
But
Yeah, no, I get
yeah,
definitely
I
what.
think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, okay. Tell me.
Oh no, no, no. I was just, like I said, I totally get where you're coming from. And I think it's like refreshing to hear that because I guess in this day and age, and it seems it's going to be a trend moving forward as well. Like it's almost fashionable to burn through something and then change something and burn through that and constantly keep changing, yet not evolving. And if anything is true to what a universe is, it's a constant evolution, right? Like, like as far as we know scientifically, our universe doesn't really change. It just continues to exist and grow. And I guess that mimics when you're making a universe in an art form as well. Like there's so many more things you can explore. But I guess it's also cool to hear, especially from someone like yourself, someone that I admire, that you're still passionate or like moving forward in working on your own universe in a project. Like with that, do you ever like stop at any point? Like, do you ever get burnt out, or is it always like a constant thing of it's either in the back of your mind or you're always in the front of your mind, like you're always wanting to kind of work and build and flesh out the universe that you're creating?
It depends of the period. Sometimes I just drop everything. Uh, it really depends of the period. But at the moment, for example, I'm really obsessed with my personal project, and I like when I'm in this moment. My wife don't like it because I'm sometimes she's speaking to me and I am thinking about what I should do in with my film, and she had to get me back to hey listen to me. But I definitely have some period when I don't really I'm not too I mean I'm just having fun with kids and just playing video games and but I think most of the time like when I was doing my video games and before I have my kids, I think I was pretty focusing a lot on having all the time art in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
When she was born, because my daughter she's 7 years now,
Yeah.
7 years old. When she was born, I realized I was super attached to. I wanted to keep doing that a lot. So I've been even more productive when she was born for I think 2 years, and then I was so tired, like because I was working until 3 or 4, and she was waking up. So yeah, I had a terrible rhythm at that time. And then yeah, it's like a up and down. I can't be. I am not very balanced person. Like okay, I'm going to do every day. Each period of time of art and forever. It's more like sometimes it's very intense, and then I have to rest. But rest is important as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just I remember when my wife was pregnant. I was playing so much video game like Dark Soul and The Witcher, and that inspired me so much that I came back to art again because of it. So I think it's up and down for me. I know some people are extremely balanced person and they can do the same rhythm forever. But I don't know. I don't find I really tried very hard to be like that, but I always get back to my nature, which is just being obsessed about something and then resting. So, but it's interesting because once you understand that you can cheat with yourself Because for example, I'm doing this film at the moment, and I was thinking maybe I should do it longer, so I keep being in this state for a longer time, and even not finishing it. So you keep doing this stuff forever, and maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
That's
Because
actually
releasing something is that really important? You know, I'm not sure.
no, to totally agree, and that is something that I've been thinking a lot more of recently. And again, hearing it from yourself, that kind of like qualifies those thoughts and feelings that I had. Because if that's what you're thinking, then it's, in my opinion, that's good to go. And I can totally relate to you in terms of how you described the way you work and like people who are like organized and very good with, I guess, planning and stuff. Again, similar of someone who's tried that, and it's something that I can work to if need be, but that's, like you said, not my nature. And I think it's really cool that you mentioned that you're just happy to, I guess, be fueled by the obsession, which is an interesting way to look at it. But I think for me, that's something that makes a lot of sense to me as well, because it's just a driving force. Because if you're obsessed about it, you know you're going to give it your best and you're going to find a way to get it done. So that's interesting as well. Another interesting thing you mentioned about working on something and the fact of whether it needs to be released or not. Especially when it's a personal thing. I guess when it's client stuff, there's always like a deadline. There's always a need to be met because, you know, there's a contract or there's a deadline or there's a goal at the end of it because there's a release date, which is totally fine. That's work. That's, I guess, a little bit different. But, you know, it's a good philosophical question to ask is like, why are you releasing something, I guess? And even a few things that I'm kind of working on, like I am basically like a very poor man's version of yourself. I like, all I do is work on vehicles and sci-fi stuff. That's my main go-to thing. And there's a few things that I've started to do, which is basically like fleshing out in a similar way, like a universe of just my things. And as soon as I started off with one little, I guess, like drop in that particular ocean, the ripples come out and you think, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And then on one hand, you go, oh, I'm never going to get it done, which is kind of like puts on a downer. But then you realize, oh, I'm never going to get it done. That means I've got enough energy, well, I guess enough things to work on for the rest of my existence. So yeah, like, does it ever get negative for you? You mentioned a little bit there, like, you know, with, I guess, like the work-life balance, maybe a little bit, but does it ever get negative for you, your obsessions?
I don't think so, but it's fun because I always feel like every 6 months or every year, my what I'm thinking about art and life and everything is always evolving. And it was fun because it deviates from what you asked me, but this is a thing I have and I apply to my work. But I was speaking with my friend who is writing my short film, and I realized because he's much younger than me. He's not very experienced in the field, but his knowledge and his passion, his mind, I think is the most important, and and I think that's what's the most important is what you have in your head and the goal. Trying to bring. I mean, this is a. I realize the most important is what you put in your brain instead of releasing stuff, and so yeah, it's. I don't know where I was going.
Yeah, keep going. This is great.
But this is why, because releasing stuff is important when you think about it, especially when you're starting. You need to exist to be visible, to get some job, so people can like your stuff. You know, it's important to be liked. You know, people like. I mean, you want people like your stuff, whatever you're doing. It's natural, but. Today, I'm starting to feel in a different way when I put more attention to the fun I'm having instead of sharing anything. That's what I was telling you. I'm not super interested to release this film, for example, but make it longer can be even more interesting because I will keep being in the state of being inspired and being productive and I want to do more and more stuff rather than just releasing this stuff and then, okay, what I will do, what will I do next? Because this question always come like what I will do next. I had this question when I was releasing the Learn Squared course I've done with you guys. It took me like 4 to 5 months, I guess, to really know where I was going because I know it's great to plan, but when you're in the moment to change, it's should I do this? Should I do that? And for me, it took a lot of time to take a decision. So yeah, I want to keep being in that state as far as I can because this is so much fun, and that was doing video games great because take at least 1 to 2 years to do a game, so it's going to be very long. You keep being busy and inspired for a long time. Short film can be done in a shorter time, so yeah, maybe it's good to do not a short film, but like 20, 15 minutes, 20 film. That would be fun. But yeah, it's I love to be in that state, so I will do my best to keep being that way.
It's cool as well because you've been in this state, so to speak, but in different fields. Like you've done it in, I guess, like when you were starting out, when you're doing those studies, that was all like, I guess, traditional, right? Like I guess paints and inks and pen and everything.
Sorry, I think the audio got burned. Can you repeat again?
Cool. So like when you were starting out, when you're doing the studies, when you were like building yourself up, was that all like on traditional medium or were you working digital then?
Mostly digital.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we were taking some photo online and just putting in Photoshop. You just enlarge the canvas and paint with the picture at your side.
Got it. And I'm not sure if this broke up when I was saying it as well, but like I was just saying, like it's super interesting because you've kind of kept that energy going, and I guess that kind of like that vibe that you want to be in, but you've done it in different fields. You've done it obviously like digitally, 2D, video game, concept art, professionally, and now it's film as well. But like I guess like going back to video games, is it the studio? Was it a studio that you founded, or was that someone that you joined when you guys made Strike Vector?
We founded. So basically, the story was me and my friend. We were learning art together, learning light together. We've been studying at approximately at the same time on this forum called Café Salé. And we always wanted to work together. He almost joined me in the studio in Paris with Alexis Briclot at Dontnod. I tried my best to make it come, but I don't know why it didn't work. So we always had this motivation to be together in the same team. And he started to talk to me about, he was so frustrated in his studio because it was, the studio was at a terrible position at that time. And he wanted to get back to front because he was in England and he wanted to do a game, but he didn't know what to do. So we were just starting to talk about a possible game, but I didn't want it to be I didn't want it to do a game at that time. But I don't know why. I was working in this studio for 3 years, and it seems fine to me to just have a video game idea. Doing it, you know. It wasn't planned, but it seems, yeah, it could be fun. So this is how it started. But it was a lot of work because we were just illustrator, not even doing 3D. So we had to learn everything, about 3D, because we want to do a 3D game. So we had to learn the foundation of this. There were some really, really fun and boring tutorial for Maya and 3ds Max. It was like just learning how to do a castle with only cube. It was pretty hard, but as again, learning something new is so refreshing. I think for a few months, I think at least 6-7 months, we were learning Unreal Engine and Maya.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were starting to at least create some environment, it was terrible looking, but at least we could work in an environment. We were so excited about it that we were starting to look for programmer. So I had a friend, programmer, Cédric Lecacher. He was super talented in our studio, and he was an artist as well. So that way we were close already because he was a super talented painter and drawer at the same time. And at first he was laughing at us because our environment were terrible. But so he was interested. We were starting to talk, but after a few weeks, like it was, they were not motivated enough. But 6 months later, we came back to him, like, this is what it's looking now, and it was starting to look great to him. It was, okay, those guys are not just joking. He could see the potential of the game, and he was much more experienced than us, and I think me and my friend Pierre-Etienne had the motivation, and he had the experience to do a game because he was a programmer. He started to work on Game Boy.
Wow.
Just to tell you, like the variety of different platform he experienced and developed on. So we started to talk about this game, what it could be, and he really bring as a professional approach. Rather than just two kids being excited about doing a fun game. But he really made like, okay, we need a game design document. We need to define every feature of the game. We need to define everything. And we made like, I think 40 pages of game design document with all the different aspects of the game. Is it a multiplayer, solo? How many weapons? How many map? How do different map? And then, yes, once you have this, like a game design document, you have clarified everything. I think it took us maybe 3 or 4 months of talking and meeting every week. We had a game design document, so we just had to do this game.
Wow.
So we found we had to quit our studio. It took us a few months to make it happen. And then we just had to produce this game because we had the list of what we had to do. And then we made this game in a year. It was pretty intense, pretty fast. We were not prepared for that. Definitely, you're never prepared for whatever you will do. That's what I learned from that experience. But the satisfaction of seeing your game starting to look like something that could be released is definitely so good. Wow. Because when we started to produce this game, like we quit our company, we started to, we had a little office. The game was looking terrible. There were no game at that time. But after 6 months, I remember we had to release a first trailer because we had our marketing plan of, okay, we had to release this first video here at this moment, and the game had to be looking finished. But 2 or 3 weeks before the trailer, it was terrible. So, but it was great to have this deadline because we had to make everything to make this game looks like a game that could be released. And I remember like 2 days before we had to shoot every sequence of the trailer. It was starting to look like finished, and sometimes it's just in small detail that really brings the extra feeling of, okay, it's look great. But I remember this moment where, okay, it starts to look ready to be shown to the world. And it was a really, really good moment. I always keep that in my heart.
Wow, that is truly epic. Like, it's also, I guess, encouraging and also like a cool reminder as well, like to kind of keep faith in what you want to do, because you quit your jobs to make this. But when you did that, was that an easy decision? Was it like almost you're thinking, we have to do this, I'll do anything? Or was there any point where you thought, maybe we shouldn't do this because we don't want to leave our jobs? Like, what was your mindset at that time?
I was young. I had no attach. I had no kid, no wife. So it was definitely an easy move. It's fun because today, I think last year I was thinking about should I stop working for client or just do a new game? And the move was definitely different. I haven't done the move, by the way.
Okay.
But I'm still thinking about it. But with kids and wife, it's definitely a different decision. And especially now, since I know how crazy it was to jump in that experience. Once you know how it's working, you understand the risk. And for me, it's much more harder to jump in such an experience now than when I was much younger. But I just wanted to have fun. But today, as you said before, you have to pay the bill. But I want to put myself in a position when I can do that again. So I try to don't have that much money to pay every month. So that's my goal. And hopefully in a year or two, I can do whatever I want.
So like with that time, like making the game, was it like, again, full on energy of like just getting this done? Or because I can imagine, like, you hear stories all the time about things in development hell and not getting made or things falling apart. I'm sure you got so many stories of like where things almost did fall apart. But was there any moment during that whole run when you were making the game where you thought, I want to give this up and I want to quit? Or do you not have that mentality?
No, because we were doing the dream game. So every time there is a small improvement, you're so excited about it.
Sick.
And I think just having the satisfaction of seeing something becoming playable and you're having fun with it, it's even more motivating. But I think there were different steps. Maybe because we are artists, just having a good-looking place you can just, walk around in the viewport is just at least satisfying as a good start. So I think we had already I think it was already very motivating just to improving as a 3D artist. And then you see the programmer every week, you can see huge improvement and you can see like we had some spaceship flying, but just having the spaceship and we can control it, it was okay. It's going very fast. Once people are full-time and if you have the proper people at the right place, it can be super efficient and go pretty fast. But I don't remember we had that for the first game. For the second game, we had this issue where, oh shit, it's too hard. Luck has definitely a huge place. The first game, where I think we've been lucky to do it on Steam, to do it with Unreal Engine 3, because at that time, Unreal Engine 3 was finished by Epic. It was, there were so many games, so many. If you had questions about anything, you could find an answer. So it was. We could control the game for the first one, and when we did the second one, it was on PlayStation 4, I think. So it was pretty new. The console was just released, so we decided to do Strive Vector for PlayStation. And Unreal Engine 3 was not supported by PlayStation 4, so we had to move to Unreal Engine 5. But our timeline was to release the game after 6 months, but the engine wasn't finished. So yeah, we had a nightmare working in this situation because PlayStation is definitely a console at that time. I don't know how is it now, but was definitely a much harder environment than developing on Steam or PC. On Steam, you can just release a game after 2 days of setting up everything. On PlayStation or Xbox, it was months and to just make everything ready to release just a game, finish or not, but just make everything ready to release the game, like the artwork, the localization, every language. It was there were a lot of different process. Every time you had to validate something, it take weeks for Sony to confirm or say no to something. It was that was luck is important. We had luck on the first one. The second one, we had underestimate so many things. That's why maybe I'm a bit more scared to get back to video game as a studio today, because I know how uncontrollable it can become. But when it happened well, it's so good.
So like you've had the benefit of both extremes, when it's great and when it's not so great, right?
Yeah, it was the second game was an absolute nightmare to develop.
Wow.
We were not controlling anything. Yeah, it was. But it's hard because you do a first game, it's happened well, you do some good sales, everybody love it. It's like the perfect world. And the second one, it's like, as you said, the opposite everywhere. So it was definitely hard, especially when you think you know something, and you realize you don't. So it was definitely a good open mind experience, because you can do it in the other way. When you fail first, you have learned a lot, but you can't reproduce the experience. But we had the chance to succeed for the first game, but fail after. So it was a good slap in the face.
But like with any, and you kind of just nailed that as well, like with any negative experience, there's always something that you can glean from it and then make it in a positive later on. But if you were to start your game tomorrow or soon as, what would you kind of do maybe differently this time to make sure that you kind of you have the best of both? Would it be like, would you make for consoles, or would it be just straight on like maybe Steam or Unreal, or are there other factors that are kind of like making you not make the jump yet?
I guess waiting to have Unreal Engine 5 to be ready enough. I haven't really planned it yet, but doing a game when an engine is just released, I think it's dangerous. But if you have the solid team to take care of it, it's fine. But we were just 4 guys. We were on the first release game in Unreal Engine 4. So it was really hard. It's hard for a small studio to just jump on a brand new engine like that. But with a solid team, if you have enough programmers that can really take care of it and are experienced about it, I think you can do the jump. But I guess I still like the independent way of a small team that do everything themselves. I think I really love that. So I guess I would just love to reproduce that. So maybe waiting the engine is have experience enough, and you can find all the options, and maybe then you can do the jump. Or maybe just find a publisher and have a huge team, and I guess it can be fun as well. It's a different experience to be more like a producer instead of putting your hands in the development of like doing the art yourself. I think because I've made because I had this company at some point because I was thinking maybe I should stop doing art and being taking more care about the company. And in the end, I found like it was fun, it was interesting, and I was doing a good job. But in the end, I was really missing doing art. Really missing it. I realized I was really loving art, whatever I do. So I think if I do a new project, I would love to keep having my hands into it. I think it's important. But I know some people are doing it. I guess like Christophe Balestra from Naughty Dog. He was the CEO of the company at some during a period of time, and he was still doing some programming. The guy who had still his hand. I think it's great to keep being connected with your studio. I think it's important. But that's my opinion.
No, I love that. Like it's even like when it's like TV shows or films or anything, like the main driving force, whether that's the director or maybe a producer or somebody who's concepted that particular idea, when I see like maybe only one director on every single episode or one writer, or you know, like someone's like a George Lucas type person, someone who's kind of like involved in almost many different aspects. James Cameron's another one as well. I tend to, I'm more drawn to what they're creating because I know it's come from an artistic mind where like, you know, it's not just a case of, which is totally fine as well, but it's a case of like, this is my role, I'm going to delegate it and let everyone be great. It's more so that vision is coming from a particular source, and it seems to me when that happens, the vision's more purer. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but in terms of like, I guess, inspirations, you mentioned obviously art is clearly a big one. Gaming you mentioned as well. Like, what kind of like, when did you start gaming? Like, is that something that you've done since a kid?
Oh yeah, man! I was playing a lot when I was a kid. My mom had bought what was the name of the Master System? Do you know that?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so it was our
I had
first
the Master System
first
2.
console.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we had the Alex Kidd and
Yes.
I don't remember the other game. Then we had the Nintendo, Super Nintendo with Zelda and yeah, I had the video game in my blood.
Sick.
We found a way to put our mom with my brother. My mom was playing Half-Life and
Oh, wow.
Zelda, so it was it was a good way for us to play more video games because when my mom was stuck in Half-Life, she was telling me, yeah, you can play a bit more, but just finish this boss, please.
Sick. Dude, that's what I'm like with my kids are like that with me now. It's a case of, I don't know about you, but it's hard to find time to game. But at the same time, my daughter knows that obviously I like gaming, and she's got me hooked on her games. Things like Animal Crossing and a few others. There's something about gaming and the addictive nature where it's, yeah, once it's bitten you, you can't let it go. And it's also interesting as well because so you've seen all the different iterations of games from the very basic to different generations of consoles. You mentioned obviously Unreal 5, like how much technology is progressing now. I'm sure it was the case for you as well. Like I remember growing up when it was before even PlayStation, or when PlayStation came along, and that generation where graphics were becoming more and more crazier, like, you know, more and more realistic. And it was a case of imagining how far it could get. And did you ever think it would get to this level that it is now, like almost complete realism?
Not when I was kid, but I think when I started to work, my first game studio experience, I could see like maybe in the next 10, 20 years, it would be like super impressive, like Unreal Engine 5 today. Wow. Today, there is no doubt. Like you see Unreal Engine 5, it's almost there. But it's fun because as a player, I'm not necessarily, I love working on realistic stuff as a professional, but as a player, I'm not necessarily playing any super realistic game. You know, I've played Elden Ring. It's not necessarily super realistic. It's you can see like it's a bit stylized. I'm playing stupid games like Worms, WMD, WMD. Playing a lot that Mutant Blade, which is absolutely terrible in terms of visual, but so much fun in terms of gameplay.
Right.
As a gamer, I think I'm more interested in the gameplay and the potential you have. They give you in those worlds rather than the realistic aspect. Because doing a realistic game, it's so hard. It takes so much energy that it's a huge constraint when you have to do such a realistic game. But I don't know what you play. What game do you play?
At the moment, it's Gran Turismo 5. Like, I just can't turn that off. Mainly because I'm getting good at it and I'm beating a lot of people online. So I'm super hooked on that. Which is almost like you mentioned, like it's the hyper realism. It's almost a simulator. However, with my daughter, that's where I have most fun playing games like co-op games like Overcooked, which is just super arcadey and just fun and just a nice little release. So yeah, I totally get you on that. What kind of games would you say like are your all-time favorites or icons where you just like when you think of them, you just think, you know, chef's kiss, that's perfect?
I think strategic game like Factorio was definitely some game are really changing a bit your life.
Mm-hmm.
I know Dark Souls 3 and The Witcher 3 changed my life because it was when my game studio was shutting down,
Okay.
and I didn't really knew what to do. I was waiting a kid, my daughter, and when I've played those games, and that made me want to get back to art. So those games changed my life. They are definitely a huge symbol for me.
Mm.
I loved Elden Ring. To me, when I played Elden Ring, I never had this feeling before of playing a masterpiece. And it was beautiful in every aspect. And I had this feeling of a masterpiece, and I realized I never had this feeling before about any game. For a movie, I had this, or a painting, or a sculpture, but not a video game.
Wow.
And it was beautiful to realize that. I'm sure people can say that to other games they have in mind, but yeah, to come back to Factorio was definitely fun because it's like a factory simulator.
Mm-hmm.
You start as just a guy who just grabs some material,
Yeah.
and then you can industrialize everything. And then you have factory building everything for you. If you want a tank, you can not just do one; you will do thousands of it. It's very fun, very interesting, and the kind of games that teach you stuff about how things work in real life, like space game simulator, like Kerbal Space Program. Really was super inspired about it. Um, I love those games when you really learn useful stuff as well.
What do you think about gaming as a medium in terms of like in a philosophical sense? Because it's interesting that the word game, it's almost like to play, and you are playing it, but like you mentioned as well, like it's more of an experience in certain times. And even with how cinematic some games are in the narrative, they're better than films in some cases, or like completely different. But like, what's your, I guess, philosophical take on games and how important they are, or maybe not, to humans, I guess?
I guess it's like movies; they can inspire you. I remember Mike Hill telling some movie from Steven Spielberg changed his life,
Yeah.
or the life of his father, if I remember correctly. And I guess like a book or a game, everything, uh, every art aspect of life, I guess, can inspire human. And I think it's beautiful when, but I guess. Uh, I guess video game. I never had this feeling before playing like a useful game where you learn real stuff or you have a very strong narrative experience. I never had this feeling before, but I think it's pretty new in video game to have a video game that can change your life or to change slightly the way you see life, like a movie could do or a book. But yeah, I think we had so many area to experiment with video game yet. It's just the beginning. It's like 30 years old. If you have a look
That's
30
true.
years back, we were just playing on pixels only, and that's it.
Yeah,
Small
man.
pixel, and that's
Yeah.
it. It's moving so fast. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
That's interesting. And it's interesting you mentioned that, like how that trend is happening now. Like maybe it's because people making games now were playing them growing up, whereas as opposed to when games first came along, they weren't doing that. Like it was almost like a new frontier. And it was mainly, I'm assuming, programmers and clever people like that who are exploiting this new medium. Even like other things that where I don't know where I'm going with this, but like there's just something cool where you see something new and people take it in directions where you don't expect it. Like I think was it the Atari, which was used by a lot of music producers to make music on when it wasn't literally intended that way. I'm sure there's a few others for that as well. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I have no point or conclusion with that. But I just think it's fascinating how technology changes and how we interact with it is shifts a little bit as well with that change. But the things that we really want from it is kind of always the same. Like you mentioned, inspiration or to kind of like experience something or play with something, push it to its limits and all sorts. But I want to pick your brain on like the career that you've nurtured, because as it's has been evident, has been spoken today, like you are an artist through and through. Like it's in your blood. Like you can't help it. You've tried to help it, but it wasn't happening, and you went back to it. And you've embraced it. But obviously, as a working professional, there's other criteria sometimes where you kind of have to maybe deviate a little bit, perhaps, to ensure you get work and forge a career. But when did your, I guess, life as a concept artist and work in the entertainment industry begin? Was that after wrapping up on Strike Vector, or was that kind of happening on the side around that time then as well?
I think Strike Vector gave us some good, very good exposure because we had some. I guess nobody know our I mean, not everybody know Strike Vector, but it made some impact in the in the industry. Sorry, and I guess that's where it really started. And the fun fact, I was working on the Strike Vector 2, and I got contacted by Neil Blomkamp to work on an Alien movie, and I was, what the fuck?
Wow.
I mean, I guess it was because of Strike Vector, because I think we had some trailers that was seen. We had many views, and I guess our work have been seen as well. And I don't know, maybe Neil Blomkamp saw our work, and he liked it, and he wanted me to work in his movie. But it was fun because at first I don't see why it's happening, because I was a game developer, and a movie which was originally not possible to me was just there in front of me.
Wow.
So I think that's where it started, and the other people were starting to contact me again. Contact me. And when my company shut down, I've been starting to do personal work again. I got exposure that way, and I've got contacted as a freelance artist then. But it started before my company shut down. I was starting to take some. When an opportunity was too good, I was taking it anyway. But I wasn't promoting myself at that time. But it was still happening. It was great.
Sick. So like the work came to you, so to speak, right?
At that period, yeah, it was.
Cool.
It was perfect. It wasn't. I did not have to think about it. It was just happening. I was okay. Maybe I should try.
And not to give anything away, not to get you in trouble as well, but like the work that you've done, I guess for the most part, has it always been, I guess, to your strengths and to your style, or have there been things where it's completely a deviation from what you typically do?
Most of the time, yeah. I was definitely contacted for specific things. It's fun because I had a recent experience. I will not mention anything about the client or whatever. But they contacted me by reputation, I guess. I think I got recommended. But the person I was working with was definitely not an artist, and was not understanding anything about what was my force and what was my weakness.
Right.
And was giving me stuff that was definitely not my my force. So after a few months, we decided to stop, because it was I was feeling I was wasting my time, and I was wasting their money. And they were wasting money. So yeah, it happened this time, and I was surprised because it was pretty recent. And I was, okay, maybe I should pay attention to who I will work with a bit more. Like, do you know what I do?
Right.
Just, it's important. It's better to have a good experience.
Yeah.
But it happened recently.
And you can name multiple ones, the ones that you can name. But like, what have been your best experiences or client experiences or even projects that you've worked on?
I've been working with Homeward team, Blackbird. It was definitely awesome because the CEO of the company is a true master artist. So even if he's dealing with many people, you can talk about art with him, and it was. But we have a very, I really love their art taste, and I guess they contacted me because they like mine. So definitely, it was awesome to share art with them. Foundation, the Apple TV series was definitely great because I think it was in terms of scale of project, it was definitely a good moment for me, and I had a lot of freedom to develop design, so it was awesome. Well, I've been working with David Levy a few times. He's a very best person in the world. I don't know if you talked with him before, but he's a very kind and humble person, and yeah, that's I really love him.
Cool.
And yeah, I've been working with Patrice Vermette, which is a production designer, and same, he's a super humble person and a talented person. It's fun because I realized recently, like the most talented people I've been working with are most of the time the most great person. I mean, they take care about people. They are very humble, very kind, and very fun most of the time. You know, and yeah, I had the opposite with people, which it was a bad experience because they had stuff to fix about their role. You know, but yeah, it's definitely better to have yeah, to be in touch with talented people because you learn so much from them. That's why I think it's when I've made my move between being a game developer with my company and doing freelances. For I think a year or a year and a half, I was doing half, you know, half freelance and half game developer because we were finishing the game. I was mostly a marketing guy and testing the game, but I was not doing art anymore. And the good thing about working with people, especially people that have much more knowledge than you, is the vision they have. You will always take a small part for yourself. I think that even if you're doing personal stuff nonstop, I think it's always great to always open a door to work with people, even for a short period of time. But you learn a lot by being the employee. When you have a boss and you just follow order and you learn from it and the vision the person have. And then when you're the boss, you have fun. But I think it's always great to have an opportunity to learn whatever you're doing, or put yourself in a situation when you will learn from people. That's why I think it's better if you have your company or if you have your project to put yourself at the same level as other person, because sometimes you will even follow more the idea of other people than yours. uh, I prefer to work that way. I know some people need to rules and master everything, but you save some precious time sometimes. When we made our game, Strivator, I think we were absolutely not ready for this experience. But because there were no hierarchy, it was mostly the best idea that was taking the advantage. Whoever had the idea, it was not important. It was mostly what could be the best for the game, and that's what we were following. And I guess with time and experience, maybe you want to control a bit more and be more the boss. But being definitely not ready for an experience is great because you have to work with people and take the best idea and yeah, that's what I think about it.
That is epic. Like the way you nailed that, the way you explained that, you nailed it. Like there's something amazing about working with great people, but also in a great team, in a great work environment. And you mentioned there, like it was a case of, it doesn't matter who had the idea, as long as it was a good one, that's what you go with. Now, another thing you mentioned there as well, which I totally attest to, and is something that I'm super grateful for when it happens, is working with, whether it's for, whether it's, you know, alongside or you're in charge of, but with great people, great personalities, just greatness, right? And like I said, it elevates one another. You yourself seem like a very humble and chilled out guy. When I spoke to you back in industry workshops, when I was speaking to you today, and a few interactions I've had in between since, you've always been like this nice, cool, chilled out level. Are you like this as a boss as well, or when you're working, when you're running a team? Is this how you are always?
I think I'm more crazy.
Okay.
With my friend or my family, I'm joking nonstop. I think.
Yeah.
I'm most of the time absolutely not serious. So I think I try to just say what I have best in my mind for the podcast, but in French, but I mean my native language, I'm more crazy.
That's sick. And like even like as a professional, would you say like you're the same in a way? Like obviously in a professional way, but wherever the energy transforms into in a professional state, do you tend to tap into that same kind of like energy and philosophy, or do you maybe like, you know, when you're in CEO mode, do you turn into kind of like Darth Vader sometimes?
Not Darth Vader, but
Okay.
but you know, my game experience with my friend was just trying to bring the best
Nice.
for the game. There were no hierarchy again, so I mean they were mostly at the same level, everybody. So was most of the time trying to preserve this energy, so everybody feels fine. To remove frustration for anybody, and you can be Darth Vader in such an environment in a way. When I work with clients, I mean you're the employee, so you have to be to look great, of course. But I've been more and more like becoming how can I say in English? I mean, I always adapt with the person I have in front of me. You know, if you have a cool person that joking around every time, you can be more crazy with him. But some people needs to be more like a professional approach and more serious talking. So I adapt with the person I have in front of me. Yeah, so it really depends of the person I have in front of me, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're back. We just had a lovely technical glitch. But Paul, I believe you were talking about just like, I guess like the kind of person you are as a leader, I guess.
Yeah, so when I work with people, I mean, as an employee, I'll definitely adapt with the person I have in front of me. But it's, I mean, you're mostly here to help. So whatever you can help, I mean, I try my best to bring my experience when it's needed. Sometimes you have persons that want your take on something. They want to see how you would do it. Some people want to control more, like okay, do this, do that in this specific way. So it's very you have to adapt definitely yourself with the person you have in front of you. But I like every experience because when someone is more like okay, do this way, you're just learning from this person. If you have the chance to be with a talented person, you will just learn everything from him. And when some people want more like your vision or your task, it's a good. It's also great because you can do whatever you want. And more as a leader. I mean, it's been a long time since I haven't been a leader, but I think it depends. I guess when if you're confident in what you're doing, if you need. I mean, if you're ready for something or not, I guess it depends of many things. But I know today I'm much more cool and I mean, I've run a company already, so I have the experience. I know many parts are boring in running a company. I would give that to anybody, so I can do my art. So being a boss or being the employee is the same for me. there is no really difference. If you have to do it, you do it. But in the end, like it's making art that really matter to me. I think I was maybe more arrogant when I was younger, but yeah, that's inexperience that speak. You want to, because in my Strive Victor, we were wanted to do the best for the game, but the ego of everybody was still there. And yeah, but I think this could be better because of this and this and that. And then everybody's no, let's do that instead. Okay, but it still hurts. But when you see the game is better, you just you forget about it.
Yeah.
But I think there is always maybe for any man to command. I guess there is this inside everybody. But as far as I'm getting older, this disappear much more with time. I don't know where is it come from. Maybe it comes from because I work in my home and I have I don't know. I'm mostly experiencing stuff for myself. I don't know where it comes from, but there is more important things in life for me now than being a commander or whatever.
Again, some great things you mentioned there. I think it's also cool you mentioned about adaptation. Like that's, especially I think as a freelancer, even any role you have, I think that's super, super important because you end up working for multiple companies, multiple personalities, multiple different goals and what's needed, and even industries. And that's one thing I'm not just even as I've been doing art in previous jobs as well. Like looking back at it, even though I didn't realize it at the time, you realize that adaptation is something that you kind of need to nurture as much as possible in order to survive, even in some cases. Do you think being easy to adapt to situations or to people, does that come naturally to you, would you say, or is that something that you've had to work on?
I think it was pretty natural, but I guess in this environment, as an artist, as a writer or a singer or whatever, since you start as like you have nothing, you don't know anything, you can quickly realize what you're doing is terrible. So if you want to make it better, you have to adapt. You have no choice. So I guess it comes naturally. I guess for everybody, maybe at a different level. But that's what I am saying to students when I meet some. You're in an environment where you have to learn nonstop. It's part of the job, but it's fun as well. But yeah, you have to adapt. I guess it's in our nature. When you have the chance to have kids, you see how quickly they learn, and it's in our DNA. Even if you don't tell your kids to you have to try it. You have to work now. He will do it anyway if you say it or not. Same as speaking, same as anything. I think it's in our nature to learn, same as any animal. You learn how to walk, how to speak. So I guess it's always there. It's more like keeping that dynamic. Because if you would learn art as you learn how to walk and speak, you would be like a amazing artist very fast because it's there. There is most of human are learning how to walk and speak. So it's the hardest part of the job is to even walking super hard.
Yeah.
If you think about it, speaking a language, communicating, it's really hard if you think about it. So doing art and doing some fun stuff, if you like it, of course. It's the easier part to me, at least.
You mentioned there about like language and even learning just like how to communicate. When your course came out, world building, that was a key moment for me in my art journey, because up to that point, what I was learning, especially in digital art, it was a lot of new skills, new tools, new tips and tricks, whether it's like learning 3D or all these different kind of things. And that's where I was like kind of going full speed at. And then your course came out, and at that I just started working at Learn Squared at the point in time as well. I think it's the third course that had come out since I joined. And so it's cool to see that come to life and see what people did with that. But it's also a cool departure. And I mentioned it earlier, where like, at least your experiences, when you showcase your workflow, and you said it was, I think you used the word easy for people to follow. And then they were doing similar stuff as well. And that kind of definitely had caused you to change direction in your career a little bit as well. But that was one of the things that was a big thing for me, where it was like the process that you did was so straightforward, so simple, but so effective that it would made me realize that, okay, like you mentioned about language, it was about, the language of shape, the language of light, the language of what you're trying to get across. That was getting the most attention, less so tips and tricks and all these little kind of things you can use to enhance an image or maybe get something. It was a case of like, yeah, you can do this, but focus, that was my takeaway at least anyway, focus more on bringing your world to life. And that's something that you do with your work in general anyway, like across the board. Like it's a living, breathing world, and like the way you make it is like little snapshots of that world. So what I guess I'm getting at is with your work, and I assume that it's all in a similar kind of universe, or at least from your brain. Where does this aesthetic come from? This kind of type of work you make, your subject matter. Why are you doing this type of thing, and where did it come from?
I guess it's a combination of many aspects. I guess it comes from my first video game experience at Dontnod with Alexis Briclot. We were doing a science fiction game in Paris. It was happening in 2084, I think, if I'm correct. And it was just the beginning of the trend of making things believable for like a movie. Or Avatar was just out, Avatar 1, and they were doing like, for the human technology, very believable. And since it was my first experience, I was so ready to adapt, I guess, that it became a part of my artist DNA. So I think it was a huge influence for me, I guess. When I did my video game Strike Vector, we kept this dynamic of trying to do something believable, even if it's like cities flying or a spaceship flying, but trying to find a way to make it more believable and not just Gribbles and Star Wars. I love Star Wars, by the way, but trying to make something slightly different.
Yeah.
I think that definitely helped, and I guess maybe my vision of the world definitely influenced my art as well. I've did a lot of abandoned fleet and abandoned cities, AI building cities. I guess the actuality of the world influenced me a lot. I guess it's a bit of everything. And my mom, she's a huge influence for me. She owns a library. She sells many kind of book, and including some photography book. So for a period of time, since today until today, she when she see a book that I could like, she show it to me. Hey,
Wow.
do you want this book? And I've discovered many books because of her.
Sick.
I think I've been lucky on this because that definitely, your reference you bring in your art make a huge difference. And those photography book definitely made a huge influence. Those photography book, there is many pictures you don't have on Google. You don't have on internet. So it's exclusive stuff. Maybe, many other people own those books, but not necessarily concept artists. So you're maybe few ones to have those books in a way. I guess it definitely influenced me a lot. But yeah, I've got like some Russian book. Chinese. I mean, I've got so many photography book, and I still don't see some photography. I'm still like shocked, the stupidity of the world and how we're ready to do to survive. And you can see it just as in photography. I guess all those things just influence my work in a way. But yeah, so many pictures. I can't see anything similar in Google. Like there is some a cities, a small street built just in front of a nuclear power plant in China, and it's like I've never seen that anywhere else that in this book. You can see the kids going to school.
Yeah.
And just behind the small buildings, there is like a huge power plant, like nuclear power plant. It's like, wow, what is going on there? And yeah, it's unique stuff. I think it's important to go in library and see. It's a great place to discover the world. You can just grab a book and open a different world. I spend much more time reading now. When I say reading, it's mostly by listening. Many books, history book. I think it's very important. I think it was Steven Spielberg saying learning history is one of the most important things for an artist. Just by not reproducing the mistake of the past. And yeah, there is so many things happen. I mean, you have look at TV series today like Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, Dune. You can see the influence of history and what happened already. When you start to know history, you can see all the part of the history that have been grabbed by an artist. I think it's a big source of inspiration. Just to realize how different civilizations from the past were already connected together, even like 2,000 years ago. Before that, I mean, between China and the Middle East, it was already very connected. Fun fact, like my grandmother, she passed away, but she found some. They bring back a lot of Chinese stuff, but from Middle East. I don't know how pottery is that.
Yeah, Petra, right?
Oh, pottery. Yeah. Okay.
Was that in the Indiana Jones film?
Sorry.
Was that featuring Indiana Jones? I think.
No, it was just my grandmother.
Oh, no. Okay, sorry. Oh, pottery. I thought you meant Petra. Sorry, my bad.
No, I think pottery, but I don't know how to say it.
No. I misheard.
Let me Google that because just to be sure I'm saying the proper word. Oh, Petri. Okay, yeah. No, that. No.
Because you mentioned Middle East, and then I heard Petra. I thought Jordan, and I thought, oh, that's
it's pottery. Pottery.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So she was in Oman. This country at that time when they were living there, there were no like modern stuff, no modern building, no highway. It was just about small village and very traditional way of living. And they had a lot of Chinese pottery, in their place. Old ones, very old ones. That was just to put like whatever. But the connection between those countries were very huge in the past, like a long time ago. And you can still see some evidence of it even today. It's always great to learn from the past. You can really surprise yourself. Because like what you see in a newspaper, I mean, to me, it's just a fraction of what is the world. And I think history is great because it can be very neutral. You can make your own idea based on what is written. I think it's great. I love reading history. History book.
Yeah, history is absolutely fascinating. I remember enjoying it at school, but I think the way school was structured, it wasn't as exciting because you couldn't dive into, you're told what to look at as opposed to choosing what you went to look at. But in terms of like some documentaries and like you mentioned, library, books, information, even stories from people, because there's certain things that are even in books and even that has recorded history is not always exactly what happened. But when you hear like kind of first-hand accounts or second-hand accounts or like stories that way, that gives maybe not might not be true, but it gives a different insight into a particular region. And that's something that I've kind of like, not in a similar journey to yourself, but some of the conclusion at least is like when I look at history or certain things in history, like thousands of years ago, where you think it's like an unimaginable time where things were very basic. People was doing almost similar things to what we're doing now. Take technology out of the way, the interactions that humans had, what they cherish, what they didn't cherish, has almost been constant throughout human existence. So yeah, history, like understanding and being able to know where at least humanity has come from and the steps we've taken, I think is super important. And what you mentioned there about earlier about the looking at photography and like the nuclear power plant and thinking, hey, what's going on there? That's exactly what I feel when I'm looking at your work. Like, yeah, I see cool ships, I see cool buildings, but at the same time, I'm always thinking, what's going on there? And I know it's the way you frame it or the way you entice the viewer into thinking that there's always something more beyond the canvas. Is that something you do deliberately, or is that just something that happens naturally based on, obviously, I guess, your style and your influences?
I just honestly I don't know. I don't really know. I guess maybe it come naturally. I guess with 3D, since I'm using a lot of 3D now, since yeah, you're basically building some scene and then trying to find the best composition and best. It's more like, I think my approach is more about being a photographer inside those scenes. So I basically try to create a scene where I feel great, I feel good, and then just trying to take the best picture of it. But I've been visiting many places, countries or abandoned place, and mostly for abandoned place, I always had this feeling of being so excited to be there because they had a life before there. Like if you're in a gigantic abandoned factory and you have some, you can feel there were many people working there. There is a history. Everybody's gone now, but you can feel like it was a place for many people. And you're the only one to be there now. Most of the time it's forbidden, but I've been there anyway. But I had this feeling of being so excited to have the chance to see that this place that almost nobody can see it now because it's dangerous or whatever. But it's some places are really amazing place to be in. And I guess I just try to reproduce that in my work. Just try to create some scene, some place where I feel like I'm lucky to be there. And just try to take some picture to show to people, hey, well, this is where I've been. Look how fun it was. This is, I think it's, I feel the same way when I do my 3D work or my 2D works, and when I'm visiting some crazy place that really inspire me so much. Yeah.
That's great insight. Again, like I said many times to you when I've met you and even now, huge fan of your work, particularly, again, like I said, that's just the type of work you do. It's right up my street. However, as a result, I can see that heavily influence a lot of past projects that I've done where I've like not tried to mimic you, but things like the way you capture scale and that intrigue, it's almost trying to get that. And that's a point of reference for me. Now, we talked about this before we began about AI, and my way of, I guess you could say, attempting to do work like yourself, although I don't think that's how I was approaching it, but it could be seen that way, was through my own artwork and my own process. Yet now you can just prompt in the style of Paul and go ahead. And we spoke a little bit about that, and I said, let's save it for the podcast. So, what are your thoughts on AI, and particularly as someone who's had their work mimicked, and I'm sure stolen, to make something in your style? And again, hearing how you get to your images, the journeys you take, the reference you seek, and the experiences you go for to instill that in your image. How does it feel, or what's your take on it when someone can just type it in and not have to go through all of that journey and still come up with a cool image?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, but my feeling about it really depends of the period and the day sometimes.
True, yeah.
Few months ago, I was really even in the same day, I could have different feeling about it. Like like in the morning, I'm fuck that. I hate AI, and 2 hours later, I'm trying something in Midjourney. Fuck, that's crazy. Holy shit! I need to move on this full time. I will stop 3D. I will just do it non-stop. I mean, it's. I think it's hard to process and to deal with that. If you have a look at every software before AI, the way of working in this field and the way technology were coming was fast, but definitely not as fast as this slap in the face we get with AI, because it's a total different way of working, total different way of seeing art, of using it, getting inspired by people. It's everything is different with AI, and I think it's too violent, at least for me, to process it in a proper way. When it came out, I was shocked. Really, I was, to be honest, I think I've been depressed for a few months because of AI. Then I've been. I found every time I was depressed, I was trying AI. I was excited about it. I was, oh, that's really great. And then when I stopped using it, then I was getting depressed again. Then okay, maybe I should try it again. It was a very weird relationship. Today, I really, as I was telling you before, I really should get back to it because I know like it's moving so fast. I really need to jump on it again. But to get back to people who are using your stuff, that really helped me when I saw some people doing some work based on my stuff. That was definitely hard, but at the same time, I was thinking, okay, whatever come out from this will just be based on existing stuff, and will not be. I mean, I was okay. That looks great, but I felt like I could have done those things. In a way as I would have if I would have keep doing the same thing over and over. So it's great, but at the same time, I feel like I would do the same thing over and over. Same as when I feel that in the past, as okay, it's maybe time to move on and try something new. I had the same experience with AI. Okay, I'm doing 1,000 of cool character, but then what else, you know? I think it's similar with people doing the same stuff based on artist work. They don't bring anything new. So to me, it don't have real value. It's impressive. It's scary when you're the concerned artist, but at the same time, it doesn't bring anything new. So does it really matter in the end? I think it's going to matter if it can do like the artist, but create really new idea. You know, like you would do like I don't know who artist, but you could experiment different ideas, like the artist concerned artist would do, but would not have experiment. But if it's just like okay, I'm a science fiction artist, for example, it will just keep generating science fiction image as I do today. It's impressive, but in the end, doesn't bring anything new to me. I just wait like when AI will be able to really come with new and original idea. That would be definitely very exciting.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure. I mean, like, I think what it's a shame how it's developed and the way some of the tools have, like they've gotten their images to make the tool work to a decent level. It's a shame because at the same time, it's exciting to see if it's done with the creative in mind. Like, I'm excited to see how AI is used by creatives like yourself, for example. Um, get AI in your hands and nurture it to the point where it's exploited to the maximum by a creative. Inevitably, cool stuff's going to come out. Yeah, as opposed to what it is at the moment, which is a bit, like I mentioned to you before, like my current opinion, I'm sorry to regular listeners who keep hearing me say this, is it became boring. Yet, if I hear, like, the same way, like, I'm not fussed whether someone's using 3D or 2D or whatever. However, when I hear a creative that I admire is using those tools, I'm intrigued to see how they use it because, creative people get creative people, and they it's always want to see like how they push it, how they exploit it. The same way, like, filmmakers are always excited to see what another filmmaker's doing with a particular technology or whatever, just to see what they can create. So, where do you think this will head, or where would you like it to head? Um, at least generally speaking, and as a creative.
mm, it's fun because I've been so much into thinking about it like the past few months, but since I'm back to this field, I haven't think about it for like the last 2 months. And but as I told you, like my idea about it just changed nonstop. Uh, and as it progressed so fastly, it's hard to predict anything.
Mm.
I guess at this moment, I'm more interested to use it as a as a complementary tool, something that will save me some time. Just imagine like to do some 3D stuff that would take me a lot of time. If it can make me faster, perfect. Or doing some texture, but in a way I can still control everything in the process. I think it's definitely interesting. Um, Generating image from scratch. It's I mean, I've been blown away, but I don't feel I own anything. It's like, wow, look at what it done. I've asked it something, just made something else, but that's interesting anyway. I think it's interesting to use it just to open your mind. Like, okay, it's your idea. Maybe you see it in a different way. It show you a different way of seeing a specific idea, so it's always interesting. Uh, but yeah, I think it's really hard to predict where it really goes. I guess when you're not concerned about, I mean, if if your industry is not touched by AI, it's honestly it's really fascinating. Like ChatGPT, I'm not a programmer, but I can generate script now because just by asking, that's crazy. Yeah, that's great. But for programmer, it's holy shit. Like, what are we going to do? Same with art. I mean, I understand like everybody who is not an artist are super excited about it because we can do art now, even if we are not artists. I understand I think AI will be really great for anybody who is not concerned at the start from I mean if you're a programmer, it sucks. You don't even know how to evolve because it's going so fast. Same as an artist, you don't really know how to evolve. I guess some artists have made the jump of, okay, I'm going to use it now nonstop. Me, it's really hard. I'm just bouncing. Like, so I will use it like as an addict for 3 weeks nonstop, and then I will not touch it for 3 months. And yeah, honestly, I don't know what to tell about where it goes. I guess it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Maybe in a better way because yeah, I think really it's not great. Like it just grab. I mean, I was just having a look at the the new files that will be used to train like the new stable diffusion. I could see so much of my work and many other artists. That's really like this is not done the proper way. Definitely, that really sucks. But I kind of gave up this part at the moment. But I guess it's because I'm super busy with my personal stuff. I guess it's really up to just. I guess having fun in anything just help to focus on what's really important. Maybe AI is the future for sure, and I should maybe focus a lot of my attention on it. But at the moment, I am having so much fun with this personal project that I don't just think about it. And that really helped me to deal with AI and how I should use it. But yeah, it's not easy to digest this revolution if it is one.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like you mentioned, it's always going to constantly, your opinion's going to flip, and there's going to be new advancements. And sometimes you're going to think, oh, it's not going to get in the way. Then you realize that, oh, it's a huge threat, and it's always going to keep going around in circles. And similar to yourself, like this happened to me by accident, but I realized that after messing with it, and then for being busy, not messing with it, I realized I had way more fun working on my own things in my own non-AI way. And that's what's continued to today. And I guess that final thing we can talk about before we wrap up is what you're doing now. Obviously, you mentioned you're working on a film, and like you said, like it's something that's probably going to evolve and become something more than what it was intended to be. What can you share about the film?
Anything you can see in my social Instagram or Twitter. I've been sharing some animated shot for the past year, I think. And everything is linked into this project. At first, it was just playing with Blender, trying to make things moving. And at some point, I think I said it earlier, but I realized, hey, I've got 3 minutes of film. It's work connected together. I just have to write the story I had in my head. And because I had, I guess I was doing it, having the idea of doing a short film. But I wasn't really super interested into writing the idea and okay, it's going to be that, I felt like I had to keep the door open around me. Because I had like 50 different ideas about what it could be. And I think one of the ideas, like really, one or two ideas was really taking my attention, but it was just in my head, just thinking about it. I've been writing few stuff, but it wasn't the most important part. I wanted really to make things moving and do something I want to see in those films, and in those I want to see moving. And when my friend who is writing at the moment, he came to my home and I was showing him some stuff, and he was shit. That's really fun. And I was talking about the different idea I had, and one of the idea was really I was really attached to it, and he was I think that could really work, and he really wanted to write it with me. So it's getting more. It's not just like a few animated shots now. It's getting more alive, as someone is just writing it at the moment. And since he's writing it, I'm bouncing on what he writes, and that helped me to know what I really want, what I would want to see, and the flavor of it. But it's interesting because I guess in the more traditional way of doing film, it's more like you write something and then you do a storyboard, and then you do you take like production designer who will design the film. But since I'm an artist, I'm not writing stuff first. I'm more into trying to find cool visual stuff I want to see, and then trying to find a way to make it work together. And I don't know if you've seen the documentary on Miyazaki.
Not yet, no.
It's fascinating because he's an artist like us first, and when he starts a movie, he's drawing a lot, stuff he wants to see, moments he really loves, And then when he have many stuff he really love and he thinks he's ready, he call a screenwriter, and the screenwriter have to find a way to make connected everything and create a story out of it. And I think it's an interesting way of creating a little film, because just a different approach. It's because doing image is, it's you're telling stuff. It's like writing to me. It's like music. You're telling something. So I'm having fun that way. Maybe it will be absolutely terrible in the end, but at least I'm having fun, and that keep me busy, excited. And I think that's the most important. I think that's most important to be in that state than doing a good thing in the end. Because as you said earlier, like you can always fail. It's part of the job to fail. To succeed, then if you can call anything succeed. But yeah, just having fun, I guess, is the most important thing. And yeah, that's the only thing I'm ready to tell about it.
That's sick. And one final question for myself. Do you see this as maybe your medium of personal work now? Like movies
so.
or whatever this is going to become?
I think so. And I think since AI is there, I've seen like image value decreasing a lot, because image can be generated so fastly. But as we speak, I've seen some video AI software that will probably make video as easy to produce as image now. But at least at the moment, I find it very exciting to make things moving than just doing an image. It's like being in a place where you feel great. If you take a picture, it will never represent as well as when you're in the place. I always been so disappointed about the picture I take about the place, even a video.
Same.
Because the place, if you're excited about the place, it's not necessarily what's around you, but in front of you, but the sound around you, the light, everything around you. And maybe you like a place because you've been working a few minutes before, and this work introduced in a great way a specific place where you are, and you try to take a picture, but there is so many things missing. So I guess I find it. I guess video or video game, anything moving in a scene, will definitely show a scene much better than just one image. I don't remember if that was the question, but
Nah, dude. But final question, promise. Again, it was amazing chatting to you today. Great to pick your brain. It's like I said, you're one of my favorite artists, and seeing how like your fun and your passion and your love for your craft is what drives everything. That is super encouraging to hear. Any final thoughts or words to the audience before we wrap up?
I don't really know. Just yeah, maybe one thing. When I've been talking about like this film I'm doing, the fun fact is I've done another short film before. Maybe you've seen it since you know my work, but it was happening in space. But I had the same feeling of just doing some animated shot just to see what it could be. And at some point, it was okay. I can see the potential of it, but I had to have half of the project done to see like it could become something. But for maybe like half or maybe 60% of the project, it was just nothing. It was just experimenting. But there were no goal of doing a film. I think doing a film, for example, or video game can be very it can feel too impressive to jump on it just by saying I'm going to do a video game, I'm going to do a film, and then okay, let's try to start it. But it's a lot of work, a lot of pressure. It can be too impressive to really make it happen. But just starting with a small thing, just playing with it, and after a few months, can maybe realize, hey, it could be a game or a short film. Maybe it's a easier way to approach something too big for you. Just start with a small thing, not too ambitious, and maybe with time it can become more ambitious.
Paul, amazing words. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Absolutely incredible stuff from Paul. Hit the links below to check out what Paul is up to and to learn from him by taking his Learn Squared course, World Building, which is available now. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Aaron Danda. Till next time.